Let's rotate. Oh god. There. Oh my god. I did not expect this to be on a portrait orientation. I thought it was, I've had it checked as a landscape. Anyway, let me just adjust this. I'm sorry about this, guys. This didn't expect this to be like this. Okay, so let's turn this on. Let's turn this on for extra lighting. Para, okay, masyadong nagba-bounce off yung ano, yung ilaw. How about this? Like that. I think that's okay. I think that's fine. Ano na lang. Okay. Wow. Did not expect that to be an issue. Sorry about that, guys. So we're now live. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. Thankful tayo lahat dahil it's another year that has gone, and it was a year full of blessings, as I said on my socials. It has been a very, how to say this, it has been a very pleasant start of the, what do you call this, start of the year for us as of now. Medyo tahimik, which I kind of love, I kind of like, because it allowed me to be able to, to reflect, to think, and to ponder on what will be our plans for the upcoming year. And I am very grateful that even through all the noise nung Christmas, nung New Year Eve, I was able to to partake of the celebrations, even if dito lang ako dito sa apartment nag-celebrate. So anyway, grabe, ang daming okay. That's too much. Maybe that. Okay. So this evening we are going to be talking about several things. The tawag ito, the set card that I posted is what can we be expecting in the year 2025, because 2024 has not been a very kind year for us in terms of pageantry. The placements and the non-placements of the Philippines in several major international and minor international pageants gave us something to hope for, wish for a better outcome for this year. 2024 as a whole is more of like a blessing in terms of the overall outlook of pageantry for that year. However, I think what gave us excitement, especially here in Sashes and Scripts, is the fact that the fashion content that we had was really something that gave us a lot of, you know, gave us a lot of leeway to be entertained. Gave us like a, kumbaga parang na-segue tayo when it comes to the entertainment, to something new and shiny with the fashion content that we had this year. And I'm kinda a little bit sad because pageantry is not the same industry that we started with when we started, blogging 10 years ago. But we have to accept that things evolve, things change, whether they change for the better or not. We have to accept the fact that the things that we hope to happen might not necessarily be the things that we see in the year. So I'm kind of a little bit on the fence in terms of the what do you call this? The productivity in terms of pageantry this year. No, this past year, because it was not a very how to say this, it wasn't really very strong in terms of showing for the Philippines. So una sa lahat, we have to acknowledge the fact that we probably need to pivot. We probably need to make some adjustments in the way that we select our winners, because not only did we not place in Miss International, it is the same thing that happened as well at Miss World. Miss Earth and Miss Universe, however, we did place, but we did not place at a very high level. The Philippines making top 20, despite the fact that we have a candidate who is very strong in terms of yung potential, and did not make it into the top 12 or even a hopeful top 5. It gave us a sense of, you know, that a sense that we need to awaken, that a sense that we need to be smart and pivot when pageantry has changed. And I think that is one of the reasons why the things that we need to expect for the year 2025 is a shift in pageantry. And we need to accept that so we can be able to change and pivot and probably the best word is so that we can adapt to it. Okay, so in this evening, we will be talking about four major, what do you call this? Four major topics. We are going to be talking about the business shift in fashion, business shift in pageantry, the influencer marketing and what to expect in 2025. We're going to be tackling as well yung phenomena where visuals is back in a very big way in winning pageants, especially for the upcoming year. And we are going to give you a little bit of tidbits of information on what our plans are for the year 2025 here in Sashes and Scripts. So that those are the things that we are going to be doing for this entire live stream. So first and foremost, welcome to everyone who is here. Thank you very much for joining us in this evening's discussion. So maraming salamat for what do you call this, for joining and participating in this discussion. And I do hope that this is going to be a quick live stream na hindi tayo aabutin ng 2 oras like in the previous na mga live streams, dahil mahirap yung mahirap yung daldal tayo ng daldal. Okay? We need to make this as productive and as efficient as possible. Okay, so first things first. Magandang gabi sa lahat. We are going to be starting our discussion with the business shift in fashion, in pageantry, I should say. Okay, because I think nowadays there is a need for us to accept and probably realize the fact that pageantry nowadays is more of a business rather than mere entertainment. So as you all know, the Miss Universe organization, the Miss World organization, and every other pageant organization who has not or who doesn't have a stronghold in terms of their finances, who doesn't have the support of their governments, are having a difficult time when it comes to having their pageants or having their competitions done. And this is not something that is new in pageantry. However, I think mas malaki yung kinakailangang gawin or kinakailangang i-adjust ng mga organizations this year to stay afloat financially, because finances are not as easy as before. And I remember in the 1980s, nag-uunahan ng mga countries, nag-uunahan ang mga ng mga sponsors to sponsor Miss Universe and other international pageants. That is not the case nowadays. And I think that is something that is a difficult part of managing a pageant especially in a world that is evolving and in a social atmosphere that feels that there is no longer need for pageantry nowadays. And nagkakaiba tayong lahat ng ano ba ang kinakailangang gawin. Iba-iba yung perspektibo natin, iba-iba yung opinion natin on what are the things that needs to be done in order for us to be able to, to survive as an industry. And I think that is pageantry as a whole. And if we're going to contextualize the entire what do you call this? The entire industry as a whole, maraming kinakailangang baguhin, maraming kinakailangang i-adapt with, because the industry that we knew growing up is no longer the same industry that we now have to face. I remember in the 1990s, during the time that in the 1980s, during the time when Harold Glasser was president of the Miss Universe organization. The pageant is owned by, if I'm not mistaken, by Paramount Pictures. So there is, kumbaga parang there is a reason why we see a lot of celebrities at Miss Universe and in their finals as judges. By the time that the 90s came, nagbago yung pagmamayari ng Miss Universe. And in the 90s, you had, in the early 90s, before Donald Trump, you had Procter and Gamble owning the Miss Universe organization. And this is where, you would see a lot of candidates, winners, whether it's Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, or Miss Universe, endorsing, Procter and Gamble products in their respective countries, in their respective na mga na mga jurisdictions, kumbaga. So back then, there is a huge corporation or conglomerate that supports the Miss Universe organization, and this is the same thing with the Miss International organization that is primarily being financed and supported by the Ministry of Tourism of Japan. And you have Miss World, whose ethos on beauty with a purpose makes it palatable to sponsors all over the world. And this is when you see, Sun City, South Africa, hosting the Miss Universe, the Miss World pageant multiple times in the 90s. A lot of these things changed, especially during the last 10 years, when we started to look at the pageants, especially the alpha pageants, the Miss World, Miss Universe, Miss International, Miss Earth, as more of an income generating organization. This is especially true with the Miss Universe organization, who within the last 15 years has passed ownership from Donald Trump to IMG Endeavor era, now to JKN, and now to JKN Legacy. So what does these changes in leadership, changes in ownership mean? It means that pageantry is not as profitable as it was before. And this is the reason why there are a lot of changes that we see in pageantry, especially on the financial side of the industry. So nowadays, you would see pageant organizations, needing to be financially smart in terms of the way that they run their organization. And this is, something that they have to do to stay afloat. Okay, and this is something that we as commentators in pageants, we as fans in pageants, we need to start thinking of this as a staple facet of the pageantry industry, because nowadays, not a lot of corporations, not a lot of brands are willing to spend and sponsor pageants, spend on and have brand sponsorships with pageant organizations. And the last time that I've heard, major corporations having what do you call this, having partnerships with pageant owners was during the time that the pageant is still owned by by the IMG Endeavor organization. So this is now a reality that we need to face, that pageants need to be financially viable and in order for them to be afloat. And I think there is also a tawag ito, there is also a need for us um, to start thinking as businessmen, as business strategists, in order for us to understand the moves or the not moves the plans and the decisions of these organizations. I think that ultimately the need to be financially stable is the main thrust of every pageant organizations nowadays, because money is not something that is easy as it was before in the previous decades where pageantry was at its peak. So what does that mean for us spectators, commentators, audiences, and consumers of pageantry? It means that we now have to pivot the way that we think in terms of how do we select a candidate for international pageants, how do we support candidates, how do we find candidates in the respective national, international, and even local legs of the competition. Because nowadays, you need to be financially not just stable, but you need to have huge finances in order for a candidate to be able to compete in a national pageant. For example, case in point is our own Miss Universe Philippines, where nowadays the candidates would have to join a contest, a local contest, before they can even reach nationals. So that means that there are two layers of expenditures that each candidate would have to spend on. Now, if a candidate would have to bear all of the costs of joining Miss Universe Philippines, allegedly, you would probably need around 500 to 300 rather to 500 thousand pesos in order to acquire the franchise for a locality here in the Philippines, whether it's at a municipal, citywide, or provincial or regional level. You need to pay for a franchise fee that would be around allegedly 300 to 500, half a million pesos in terms of the franchise alone. Then you would also have to spend for your own glam team, for your video shoots, your glam shots, all the public not public, all of the pageant paraphernalia that will be used for your campaign. So that means that as a candidate, you need to budget at around a million pesos in order to be able to um, have a strong campaign for the national level. Now, that is for Miss Universe Philippines. For other pageant systems, like for example, the Binibining Pilipinas competition, it was mentioned earlier in the fourth quarter rather. It was mentioned during the fourth quarter of 2024 by Chelsea Fernandez, Binibining Pilipinas Globe Chelsea Fernandez, that the expenditure would probably be at around half a million to join Binibining Pilipinas, which is a very stark difference, huge financial difference between joining Miss Universe Philippines and joining Binibining Pilipinas. However, that amount is still a huge amount in order for a candidate to be able to compete at the national level. The difference is with Binibining Pilipinas, you only have one round of expenditures. So unlike in Miss Universe Philippines, where you have to join a local casting before being able to compete at the national level, Binibining Pilipinas only has one. And usually and typically, they are the ones who pay for the glam shots, swimsuit shots, the evening gown portraits of the candidates at the pageant. So that in itself tells us of the huge financial budgets that a candidate needs to be able to uh, build up in order for her to have a campaign. Because from my experience working in the industry, if you want to do a shoot or a video shoot, you would probably need to budget around 150,000 pesos for that. That's not inclusive of the glam team and the wardrobe that you're going to use. That's a different expenditure altogether. And then there is also a they call this a fee that you need to pay on a regular basis to your glam team every time that you have a public appearance as mandated by the competition. So that means that you have to spend again for your daily or weekly glammed up hair and makeup for every public appearance. And then there is also the need for you to shell out your own photo shoots for your campaigns, especially if the organization would not provide headshot photo shoots for you. So that's another expenditure expenses that is out of pocket for the candidate. So that means that uh, every step of the way, pageant girls would have to shell out huge amount of money in order for them to have a successful campaign. Now that is on the candidate expenses. Now, for those that have local franchises who own local franchises of the, let's say, Miss Universe Philippines pageant, they also have to pay a amount in terms of the what do you call this? In terms of the national franchise that they have to pay. So allegedly, insider sources tells us that the um, pageant franchise, local pageant franchise for Miss Universe Philippines would range at around 300 to 500K. That is not inclusive of the actual expenditure of the regional, provincial, and citywide franchise holders of what are the things that they need to spend if they have a local search. That is a separate budget altogether. So you can now see, how pageants are more of a more of a financial transaction nowadays. There is a need really to be very smart and to be very intelligent when it comes to having your budgets and spend your budgets wisely in order for you to mount a successful campaign. So these are the things that needs to be recognized by the pageant fans, because this is only at the national level. It is not yet inclusive of the international level, because allegedly there are sources that said, especially in the Latin pages, that says that the organization, the Miss Universe organization, allegedly is requiring full payment of the Miss Universe franchise fees from their from their national partners to be paid by January 15. and there are some countries that the pageant franchises or the franchise fees have increased by around 40%. And that is a huge, huge number, because we have been hearing rumors that in certain countries, there are some countries that their franchise fee would range from 120,000 US dollars to around 300 plus US dollars. Sorry, 300,000 plus US dollars. So there will come a time where we might be seeing some franchise fees be close to half a million US dollars. So this is something that we see, or rather we saw, especially at Miss Universe this year, or this past November. You would see that among the international pageants in 2024, Miss Universe is one of those pageants that has hugely ballooned its number of candidates and local franchise partners to around over 120 candidates this year. So imagine, the amount of fees that needs to be paid to the Miss Universe organization. And you would see some countries, or rather some national directors, be in handling two, three, or even four pageant franchises all over the world. And I think this is something that is going to be more normalized in the coming years, because more countries joining the pageant means more country fees that needs to be paid to the organization. So these are the things that needs to be really thought of by the pageant community at large, because this is not going to be something that would go away in the next 5-10 years. I think as pageantry is struggling to find its place in modern society, the more that it will be a struggle on the financial aspect of mounting pageants, is going to be something that we have to deal with on a regular basis nowadays. So I think in the upcoming 5-10 years, we need to reconcile the fact that we need to be uh, uh, commercial in the way that we think of pageants. We need to look at the financial aspects, the monetary aspects that we need to accept, because pageants is not gonna run itself without money funding it. And I think moving forward, this is something that we are going to be familiar with. We are going to be facing with in the next 5-10 years. And this is also not a problem unique to the Miss Universe organization, but allegedly this is the same thing that the Miss World pageant is also having difficulties with, because there are rumors that circulated that the Miss World organization is having difficulty, finding what do you call this, finding partners who will host the pageant. And unlike in the previous, in the past 10 years, in the previous decade, where, China is willing to, what do you call this, to host the pageant on a regular basis, that doesn't seem to be the case nowadays. I think because of there is a economic slowdown in China and the rest of the world, more and more companies and more uh, countries are inclined to spend their budgets on more transparent ROIs in terms of investments. And I think that is something that we need to accept at this point in time. Not everyone is going to be very liberal when it comes to parting ways with their hard-earned cash. And I think a lot of pageants are reliant on sponsorship nowadays because they don't necessarily have a system where they are self-sufficient in terms of their funds, which is ironically vastly different from an organization like Binibining Pilipinas, who is supported by the Araneta group of companies. And this is something that I think we all need to acknowledge, especially with the BPCI, because they are able to mount their pageant with huge, allegedly large budgets because of the money that it brings into the real estate of the Araneta group of companies. Now, you have to remember that the Araneta group of companies makes their money on real estate, and being located at the most centralized area in terms of transportation, in terms of retail, in terms of um, living, social living. The Araneta City area, Cubao area, is one of those areas that will keep on increasing in terms of value over time. And this is one of the things that makes Binibining Pilipinas a organization that is scaffolded by the multiple retail and real estate companies within the Araneta group of companies. So this is why I think that the business model of the BPCI is something that is truly admirable, because they don't need to rent their own venues because they own the Araneta Coliseum. They don't need to uh, partner with other what do you call this, other locations within the Philippines, because even if they cannot find, or they won't be able to find local trips for their candidates to different provinces all over the Philippines, they have the Araneta City as a whole as a location where they can do their pre-pageant activities. And the beauty of that is that they are being supported by the Araneta group of companies as a sponsor in itself. So that makes sense in terms of financial viability for the pageant. And this is something that I believe the international pageants needs to establish for themselves, because this is why the Araneta group of companies through BPCI are able to mount a very successful, very large, very prestigious national pageants. Because even if they don't have, a what do you call this, a provincial sponsor to sponsor their events, they are able to mount, large events on their own, because they own a lot of properties within the Cubao area here in the Metro Manila. So that makes sense in terms of the finances of the Binibining Pilipinas. And this is, where we all need to learn what are the financial secrets of the Araneta group of companies and Binibining Pilipinas as a whole, because this is something that I believe can be the solution to the problems of the industry, of the pageant industry, in terms of the financial models that they can go through. So I believe that if the Miss Universe, Miss World, Miss Earth are able to find the formula that works for them, much like the Binibining Pilipinas is able to, I think they won't have to have major problems in staging their pageants because I agree with the common sentiments of pageant fans that 2024 was a little bit of a meh, a little bit of a so in terms of the production values of the four biggest international competitions of 2024. And this is largely the reason why a lot of pageant fans are clamoring, for the Miss Grand International and the gloss and glamour of the pageant because they are able to crown a very gorgeous winner, are able to mount a very glamorous stage design and finals and preliminaries for the candidates. And this, level of showmanship and entertainment is something that the four biggest international pageants were a little bit lacking in their own, productions, in their own finals of their own pageants. So I think there is a need for, pageant fans to start, start managing their expectations when it comes to the national pageants this year because finances is going to be one of the challenges that they will definitely have to address. So on the side of the Filipino fans, I believe na kinakailangan natin i-manage yung expectations natin this year dahil mahirap ang pera. And in order for you to be able to mount a good pageant, a strong pageant, you really need to be able to shell out, a huge amount of money. Because ang sabi nga nila sa mundo ng business is that you need to spend money to create more money and earn more money. So unless the entire pageant system as a whole, whether local or international, is able to find a way to be able to be more financially stable, medyo mahihirapan tayong mag-expect ng bonggang production ng finals because you really need to be able to earn stable enough so you can spend enough and recuperate as well your expenses for your finals, as well as if you have an increasing year in and year out na franchise fees, then you need to be able to to inculcate that in your business plan as well. So I do hope that all four major international pageants of Miss World, Miss International, Miss Earth, and Miss Universe, I hope that they are able to mount a much more entertaining, much more glamorous staging of their respective pageants this coming 2025. And I do hope that whatever financial decisions that they have to implement, we as pageant fans think of it as a way for them to be commercially viable and to be able to survive the next fiscal year. So, yun lang. I think for us as spectators, huwag naman tayong masyadong mapaghangan dahil mahirap ang pera ngayon. And in order for for pageant systems to be able to to mount their respective na mga international competitions, kinakailangan din nilang kumita from the franchise fees, from the hosting fees, etc. Of their pageant. So, importante talaga na year in, year out, they are able to avoid having a red in their finances at the end of the fiscal year. Okay? So, let's do some comments muna before we continue. Okay, EJ Belge, sabi niya, Happy New Year from the land of the hiding sun, Jason. Hello from British Columbia. Um, sabi ni EJ, what do you think of the proliferation of pageants, both male and female? Is it helping the industry, or is it killing the goose that lays the golden egg? Your thoughts on how can the industry uh, do to address the situation? Okay? Um, in my perspective, having too much pageants is a double-edged sword. Kasi the pie is not getting larger. And because the pie is not getting larger and there are more players in the industry coming in, the finances or the financial, what do you call this? The financial burden on each organization becomes bigger and bigger because there is less pie to consume. So that is my perspective. However, if some pageant systems are able to find more creative ways and think outside of the box, and able for them to be able to what do you call this, to stay afloat financially, then doon lang magkakaroon ng mas malaking pie. Okay? But right now, a lot of pageant systems are spreading themselves thin in terms of their finances, so they keep on increasing their, their franchise fees, and other fees that involves, earning them money, so that they are able to stay afloat. And there will come a point where the financial aspect of mounting a pageant would become too much to bear on their partners, na sila na mismo bibitaw. So there needs to have to be a reckoning of balancing it out, para hindi naman maging masyadong mahirap, hindi siya maging masyadong mahirap para doon sa mga partners na pinagkakakitaan nila. So I think when you cannibalize yourself this way, darating yung panahon na wala ka nang makakain. So I think this is why it is a double-edged sword, because it is a temporary fix in my perspective, na magtiis ka na magtaas rather ka ng mga franchise fee mo ng regular, year in year out, dahil darating yung araw na may breaking point yung mga partners mo na hindi na nila kakayanin yung taas ng franchise na hinihingi mo. So you need to be able to be creative in the way that you earn money. You need to be creative in the way that you market your pageant. And you need to be able to find ways to stay afloat na hindi ka lang umaasa on one source of income. And if 50, 60, 70% of your income is based on the franchise fees that you collect from your national franchise partners, then I think that is going to be a difficult road for any pageant system in the long run, because you need to diversify the way that you earn money for your pageant. So kinakailangan mas creative yung mga nasa leadership in order for them to spread yung revenue income streams nila. Okay? Okay, sabi ni EJ Bells, how does the local government recover the cost in expenses from taxes paid by the people, or are there sources to fund them by not burdening the public? Be specific. Thanks. That is something I think that the Commission on Audit needs to check on, because I don't know how we are able to finance pageants when there are infrastructures that needs to be prioritized for local governments to spend on. So, and honestly, it's difficult for me to answer that question because I don't know how um, especially that it is an election year. So I'm sure kapag election year, may mga expenditure ang mga local governments na mapupunta sa election. Okay? D. Yuson, sabi niya, manigong bagong taon, Sir Jason, manigong bagong taon din sa iyo. D, maraming salamat for joining us in this evening's live stream. As I've said earlier, I will try to make this as quick as possible para hindi tayo masyado umabot ng pagkahaba-habang diskusyon for this live stream. Okay? Ben Hernandez is here. Sabi niya, hi Sir Jess, watching live from Marikina. Hello, hello there. I hope na malamig ang panahon dyan ngayon. And sana hindi siya umulan. Okay? Continuing dun sa comment ni Ben Hernandez. Sabi niya, you're right Sir Jess. Pageants are not what they used to be. Full of fun, glamour, charity work, sportsmanship, and goodwill. Nowadays, it's about money and profit. And this is something that we really need to be okay with. Kasi hindi naman tatakbo ang pageants kung wala silang pera. Hindi iikot ang pageants if they don't have, good finances. Because yun ngayon yung isa sa mga importante nilang asikasuhin na kinakailangan they prioritize, being financially in the green on a regular basis so that they can continue the pageant systems working smoothly. Okay, now, I think let's dive in doon sa next na topic natin for this evening. And that is, what do we expect for influencer marketing in 2025? And this is something that I think we need to take a look at because it will definitely, affect yung careers ng mga favorite na mga influencers natin. From Heart Evangelista to Kylie Versosa to Kelsey Merritt to Ann Curtis to Zoe Santiago to everyone else in the influencer marketing sphere. Now, in 2023, luxury brands are actually doing very well financially. I think that was 2023 is the peak of revenue for all luxury brands in the past post-pandemic years. From 2021 to 2023, I think the revenues posted in 2023 were the highest. And this is primarily made possible by the revenge spending that people had after the pandemic, the global pandemic, where everything shut down. And I think dahil doon sa shutdown na nangyari during the years of 2020, 2021, a lot of us started to be more liberal in terms of our spending in around 2022, 2023. And the peak of luxury spending was in 2023. Now, this is also not only fueled by that, but also by the fact that a lot of brands have increased prices for their products. And some, especially in the luxury leather goods sector, some of their profits and margins increased, or rather their prices increased by around 70 to 80%. There are reports that said that a Chanel flap bag in 2017 versus now, the prices have increased but by at least 50 to 70%. And some brands have followed suit with their prices increasing from between 30% to 40% from their prices in around 2019, 2018, and 2017. So that fueled, the high na tawag ito, high expenditure or the high sales of luxury brands in 2023. This is also, I believe, the reason why brands in 2024 were very liberal, very democratic in the way that they spend their budgets on celebrity and fashion influencers, that they are able to expand a lot of their a lot of their visibility with influencers through influencer marketing. And this is the reason why we've seen, ladies like Kylie Versosa and Pia Wurtzbach being able to penetrate the Paris and Milan fashion weeks. And we've seen, a number of new faces like Zoe Santiago at the international fashion weeks all over the world. So, what now has changed in 2025? Because in 2024, if you weren't following me on my socials, especially on Instagram and Facebook, I have posted there that 2024 was not a good year, particularly for the luxury goods sector. While there is growth in fast fashion brands like Timu and Shane, that is not necessarily true for luxury brands. In fact, probably only Hermes is enjoying a growth in a year that was very slow for a lot of fashion brands. There are some reports that would say that around negative 5% of growth is experienced by major luxury conglomerates like the LVMH group of companies, that expenditure for 2025 is going to be more thought of. And this is also the reason why that for the past 12 months, we have seen a lot of ring around the rosy in terms of creative directors moving in and out of different fashion houses. So, how does that affect the the influencer marketing for 2025? Now, influencer marketing for the past year has been more about having high MIVs, high visibility, high return on investment, high ROIs for the brands. For next year, where fashion is largely going to be moved by having a unique sense of style, a lot of brands will pivot their strategies in 2025 to mega influencers and move their attentions to micro influencers. So what does this mean? It doesn't mean na mawawalan ng trabaho yung mga celebrity and fashion influencers natin na malaki ang following. It only means that there will be a pivot, there will be a change in strategy in the way that brands are going to partner what do you call this, with fashion influencers in the coming 12 months. Nangangaluhulugan lang na more brands are going to be looking at the feeds of these fashion influencers and look at the profiles of the fashion influencers, and whether or not they are able to move merchandise. So commerciality is one of the things that is going to be a large indicator of success for influencers in the upcoming year, because for the fashion side of the industry, a lot of what do you call this? A lot of the trends is not going to be based on a singular trend that would define the full season, but rather for 2025, the mega trend in fashion is going to be having your own personal unique sense of style. Ibig sabihin nito, uh, you have the freedom to define what is the trend that you are going to adapt for 2025. Nangangahulugan dito that you're not going to be a slave of trends for 2025, but rather you would study the trends and find within those trends, those multitudes of trends that is happening simultaneously, kung ano yung nababagay sa'yo. So, it is adapting the trend to your own personal style that would define your effectivity as an influencer in the coming 2025. Nangangahulugan that fashion influencers who do not have a particular perspective, who don't have their own perspective on their own style, would have difficulty adjusting with the what do you call this, with the uniqueness that is going to be the mega trend for the year 2025. If you are if you are an influencer na walang sariling personal style, magiging mahirap yon para sa'yo to be able to adapt the trends dahil marami silang mangyayari. Because if the mega trend in fashion is going to be uniqueness, then you have to be able to be unique, find your unique selling proposition as a influencer so that you are able to what do you call this? You're able to create for yourself your own interpretation of the multiple trends that is going to be inundated to the public in 2025. So you really have to have your own perspective on style for 2025, because that is what brands are going to look at and to look for in terms of the influencers that they're going to partner with with their brands, with their products, with their lines for 2025. Hindi pwedeng blind follower ka lang ng kung ano ang nangyayari around you. You need to have your own personal sense of style for 2025. This is the reason why magiging malaking punto for influencers, to have their own unique way of communicating their personal style when it comes to the incoming fashion week. Ditong darating na Paris Fashion Week in for the haute couture shows in January 27 to 30 something. I think 27 to 30 yata yung Paris Couture Week. And then the PT Uomo, or the Italian Menswear Week, preceding the Paris Fashion Week for couture. So, in order for influencers to be able to capitalize on the what do you call this, on the shift in the market, kinakailangan matuto sila na i-define for themselves what their personal style is going to be. And second, fashion influencers cannot rely solely on visibility on their socials in terms of their income stream for 2025, which means that as influencers evolved, as brands evolve in terms of what they're looking for influencers in 2025, every influencer needs to find ways to strategize their business models in order for them to not be reliant on revenues that what do you call this? Revenues that they are expecting from brand partnerships alone. This is where being business savvy comes into place. If you need to be able to what do you call this, to sell products and have brand partnerships where you partner with a lot of different brands but not totally tied to these brands, means that you have the freedom to earn more, which means that you have the capacity to earn more than someone who is tied by an endorsement with a singular brand for an exclusive contract that would last 2 to 3 years. So nowadays, for fashion influencers, it is the ability to be able to have business partnerships with multiple brands and not be tied down with that brand for a single, partnership alone, so that you are able to diversify your revenues. And you need to be able to cover not only the AB market, but also the CDE market, where there are more brands that are willing to partner with different influencers across, the different markets. And this is where I believe one of the best examples for this is, let's say, Heart Evangelista, where she has partnerships with drugstore brands that you can find products for beauty, for skincare, as well as products that would help promote what do you call this? Help promote these skincare and beauty products, and makeup, in order for more brand partnerships to happen. So it helps that she has a partnership with the skincare para makapag-endorse siya ng mga products that you use to make your face, more thin, ganyan. And mga tawag ito, mga small home products that would help, distribute yung skin serum sa mukha, ganyan. So that there is another domino effect, that she is able to partner with brands like Dyson, like Dyson is the only thing that comes to mind currently, that would help with other, other aspects ng beauty industry na i-endorse niya. So because you have products, you have machines, you have masks, you have serums, and you have cosmetics, you have different kinds of cosmetics in the beauty and sorry, beauty and skincare sector. So mas marami kang pwedeng maging partners with that. And I think that is, one of the reasons why she is definitely one of the most visible influencers here in the Philippines. Another celebrity influencer that is able to, you know, um, is able to capitalize on that is Ann Curtis, na meron siyang hair, meron siyang mom, na okay, isa-isa natin. Meron siyang beauty, meron siyang skincare, meron siyang mga ini-endorso na would tie in with her being a mother. There are she still has mga tawag ito, mga commercials in the food industry. She still has her own tawag ito, her own franchise na Pick Up Coffee, and then she still has, fashion weeks with Gucci and Hermes. So being able to move into different sectors across different industries is one of the things that you need to be able to do as an influencer in 2025, dahil hindi na pwede na your brand is only focused on the fashion weeks, because the fashion weeks only happens during the months of January, March, July, and September. So if you are only reliant on those 4 months in order for you to be visible as a fashion or as a celebrity influencer, then that would not be enough in order for you to sustain the entire year because mahal ang mag-fashion week. Allegedly, I think it was Baghag on Threads that mentioned that you probably need at around 2.5 million per fashion week per city in order for you to to be able to cover the shows and have pretty much normal na tawag ito na fashion week at hindi yung nagtitipid ka masyado. It means that you have to spend a lot during the fashion weeks. So the moments after the fashion weeks should be the part where kumikita ka na, that you leverage your visibility during the fashion weeks with a lot of brand partnerships and product partnerships even kung hindi tawag ito, kung hindi ganun ka rewarding ang brand partnerships. So you need being a fashion influencer in 2025 means that you need to be more smart when it comes to the business side of the fashion industry, where you need to partner with a lot of industry partners, whether they're from the magazine sector, from the manufacturing sector, from the brand sector, in order for you to be successful in 2025. Dahil magbabago ang mukha ng fashion influencing na marketing in 2025, because in 2025 fashion influencer marketing is largely going to be driven by authenticity and the need for for community in the fashion sector. So mga brands will partner largely with the people, with the brands, personal brands of the influencers that reflect who they are as a brand. So if you are a fashion influencer, then you need to have a whole gamut of posts that is not only focusing during the fashion week, but also focuses on the products of these brands. At hindi pwedeng yung presence mo lang ng fashion week ang makikita nila sa feed mo, but also they want to see fashion influencers that consume their product, that buys the Gucci Jackie na latest na iteration ng bag na yon, or the latest Mini Kelly or the latest fabrication ng Chanel flap na bag. So brands are more likely to invest on influencer marketing and influencers who has a relationship with the brand outside the fashion weeks. And another thing that we have to remember, that throughout the past year, we've seen influencers, we've seen even in Vogue Talks that a lot of the key opinion leaders on social media talking about authenticity in fashion. Being authentic with yourself when it comes to your personal brand, and that is not going to vanish anytime soon, because that is something that studies have shown that Gen Zs, the generation after the millennials, are going to respond to, and with brands being now more aware of the purchasing power of the Gen Zs, mas pakikinggan nila yung mga needs, wants, and aspirations of the Gen Zs, because in the next 5 to 10 years, the Gen Zs is going to be one of the biggest market expenditure generations in terms of fashion and beauty. So it is expected that within the next 5 to 10 years, lalaki to 40% yung market expenditures ng Generation Z for fashion and beauty. So ganun kalaki yung ganun kalaki yung tiwala ng mga brands with the Gen Z na market, and that is why they will be spending their marketing budgets to convince the Gen Z to buy into their brands. Kasi sila yung next na ang tawag ito, next generation that's going to be um, more optimistic when it comes to expenditure. Hindi tulad ng millennials na mas studies have shown that millennials are a little bit more mindful when it comes to consumption, when it comes to buying fashion. So kumbaga parang ang Gen Z mas liberal na maglabas ng pera as compared to the millennials. Okay? Okay, so there's a comment here from Ira. Sabi niya, Happy New Year, Sir Jason. Dapat well-rounded na influencer. Since the name of the influencer is the brand itself, dapat may integrity at authentic talaga ang pag-market. I agree. I think overall for 2025, Ira, a lot of the market that actually buys fashion, and especially on the luxury goods in the sector, are going to be looking at influencers who understands yung market, who buys, luxury goods talaga. Kasi that is the only way for them to be able to to feel good about their purchase. Kasi kung yung sinusundan nilang influencer is not really very consensuous, is not really into the brands that they promote, makikita mo sa feed nila. Dahil those who love fashion understands fashion and talks fashion with a different language. And I think yun yung magiging difference ng fashion influencer of 2024 versus 2025. Okay? So, now, I think let's move on to the next topic. As I've said, as much as possible, ayokong umabot ito ng 2 oras, itong live stream na to. So, we're going to move on to the next topic that we wanted to discuss this evening. And that is visuals being back big time in pageants. And this is something that I think was largely illustrated during Binibining Pilipinas. Dahil, if you haven't noticed, during Binibining Pilipinas, nagkaroon ng shift. I think mas naramdaman natin yung shift on the pageant and what pageantry is looking for in a winner, especially during the Binibining Pilipinas pageant, because the two main winners, or rather the four main winners of Binibining Pilipinas, lahat sila maganda ang mukha. They have, I can argue that over the last maybe 4 years, 5 years ng Binibining Pilipinas, in exception dun sa batch ni na Nicole Borromeo, no, and what do you call this, Gabi Basiano, karamihan ng mga sorry, the winners of Binibining Pilipinas this year are some of the most facially gorgeous ladies in the past 4 years, 5 years of the pageant. And I could honestly say that because Myrna has a very Filipina look into her. Very gorgeous and very, very, kapag hinati mo yung mukha ni Myrna, it looks like halos mirror image nung kanan, yung kaliwang part ng mukha ni Myrna. And I think that is one of the things that a lot of pageant fans immediately notice with Myrna's, facial structure. Maganda ang bone structure ng mukha ni Myrna, and she has a very, very modern yet still very Filipina look to her. And this is the reason probably why she is one of the main winners of Binibining Pilipinas this year. Next, we also have Binibining Pilipinas Globe Jasmine Bungay. And if you look at Jasmine, especially when she smiles, that is the face that can endorse, a dental clinic, that can endorse a toothpaste, that can endorse, skincare products, that can endorse, cosmetics dahil sa ganda ng muka ni Jasmine, and very bright and very energetic and very positive yung aura ng mukha niya especially when she smiles. And hindi rin pahuhuli on the face department si Tricia Martinez and si Tala Jean de la Cruz. And this is, the first pageant in 2024 that I suddenly realized that physically and facially, the winners is incomparable to the rest of other set of winners in the local pageant scene in 2024. So, hindi ako nagtaka that come international pageant season, that is exactly the same thing that is echoed in the major and the more popular international pageants this year. We have Rachel Gupta winning MGI. We have a very gorgeous Miss Denmark, Victoria Helvig. I forgot yung middle name niya. Winning Miss Universe. And then we also have Jessica Lane winning another gorgeous blonde, winning Miss Earth. And earlier in 2024, around, I believe it was around March, we crowned Kristina Piskova of the Czech Republic. So, umpisa pa lang ng taon with Miss World, we already saw a gorgeous, facially gorgeous winner being crowned at the international level. And then we only started to feel that this is the trajectory that pageants is going to during the time ng Binibining Pilipinas, because we've seen all four major winners of Binibining Pilipinas being the more facially gorgeous, commercially gorgeous no winners in among the national pageant systems this year. And then later on, it was echoed by Mutianang Pilipinas, where we've seen Alisa Marie Redondo winning the main title of Mutianang Pilipinas, and she is absolutely a very, very gorgeous American Filipina winning the title. So hindi rin ako nagtaka that come Miss Intercontinental in Egypt at around December, she placed second runner-up. And this is something that I think is going to be the trajectory. Ito ang magiging new normal natin when it comes to pageants in 2025. That our standard for winning a pageant goes back to the beauty of face. And hindi ako nagtaka. I wasn't surprised that this is something that we've seen in Binibining Pilipinas, because Binibining Pilipinas, for everyone's knowledge, 80% or rather 50% is facial beauty, and then another 30% on the physical beauty, and then 20% is the personality and intelligence. So 80% of the criteria is based on the physicality of a candidate. And this is the reason why that if you look at the proportions ni Mirna at saka ni Jasmine, these two ladies are probably one of the best proportions that I have seen in beauty pageants. In fact, yung proportions ng dalawa are very model-esque. When I say model-esque, it means that yung proportions nila is good for modeling clothes because they probably have 9.5 na tawag ito, na body proportions ng katawan nila. Which means that if you take the head of these two girls and you multiply it 9.5 times, that's their entire body proportions. So dito pumapasok talaga yung beauty of face and beauty of figure in terms of the criteria of selecting winners. And di ako magtataka that moving forward in 2025, this year, physical beauty is going to be a huge factor in determining the winners, the incoming winners of Miss Universe Philippines, Binibining Pilipinas, Mutya ng Pilipinas, Miss World Philippines, because yun ang hinahanap ng ng international pageant systems in 2025. We've seen, pretty faces win Miss International. The very Japanese traditional na porcelain doll na look, hindi siya nawala. No matter how hard na pinupush ng organization that there is no mold in Miss International, kahit naggaano katindi silang mag-hard sell ng konsepto na yon, Miss International will still favor, the commercially pretty na girls. Simply because, going back to yung topic natin earlier on financial viability ng mga pageants, Miss International is sponsored by a beauty clinic, the Miss Paris na brand. So, it makes sense for them that ang hahanapin nilang girls is someone that conforms to the traditional Japanese image of what is pretty, what is beautiful. So, this means glowing skin. This means, a very pretty, friendly na face. Hindi masyado on the fierce na side, but more on the friendly, approachable na pretty girl look. So, even in Miss Earth, we've seen that the top 4 ladies with the right proper styling, they are all, facially gorgeous. So this means na kahit nagaano natin i-push ang intelligence, speaking ability, and yung social responsibility projects and advocacies ng mga girls for 2025, it will remain secondary to physical beauty. And I think after a very woke, a very advocacy-driven na period that we have during the 2017, 18, 19 na mga years in pageantry, we have now started to have to swing back to the more traditional na definition of beauty, and that is physical and facial beauty. So moving forward, I think we need to pivot around that. I also think that this is something that the Miss Universe Philippines, the Miss World Philippines, the Binibining Pilipinas pageants are going to stick on. Dahil ito yung magbibigay sa kanila ng puntos at the international level. Ito yung magbibigay sa kanila ng magbibigay sa kanila ng advantage when they send girls to compete abroad. And hindi ito nangangahulugan na hindi na importante yung charisma, yung personality, yung intelligence. It only means that you need to have equal measure of all of these. As pageant girls now, are thinking and pondering joining national pageants, you need now to really dig in. Do you have the facial beauty? Do you have the physical goods? Aside from the intelligence, the ability to speak, the advocacy, and social relevance that makes a holistic beauty pageant winner. You have to be able to tick all of these boxes nowadays because hindi na uubra yung magaling ka lang magsalita at idadaan mo sa charisma yung pagkapanalo mo ng isang national na pageant. Because nowadays, pageants are looking for commercial beauties. Faces that are able to endorse a brand, faces that can earn money with brand partnerships dahil kinakailangan ng mga brands na kumita this year. So it all ties up yung pagiging financially stable, yung pagiging business savvy ng mga pageants this 2025 reflects the fact that for 2025 they will be looking at facially gorgeous na mga girls because they need those facially gorgeous girls as winners to be able to endorse, to be able to earn more revenue. So it all makes sense if you tie them together. So I think as we progress towards the national pageant season this starting this January, we need to start looking at pageant girls holistically at hindi lang magaling lang magsalita. Kinakailangan maganda ang mukha, kinakailangan matangkad, kinakailangan very commercial yung beauty, kinakailangan marunong magsalita, marunong makisalamuha sa iba't ibang tao, marunong makibagay, marunong rumespeto sa trabaho. One who is very professional is definitely something that is going to be needed this year because if all things equal, yun yung magse-set apart doon sa girl. And also, hindi mawawala pa rin yung intelligence and ability to speak, ability to communicate. And in as much as it pains me to say this, I don't see being advocacy driven, being very socially aware as something that would matter like it did before in the time of the Catriona Grace and what do you call this and Zozibini Tunzi of pageantry. Ngayon, because finances are tight, the pageant systems are going to bet on the traditional conservative definition of beauty. So we need to be ready for that to happen. At huwag tayong magulat na balik tayo doon sa ganda ang ambag when it comes to selecting a winner. Okay? So I think those are the major points that I wanted to discuss in our first live stream this year. We are going to expect a very different way of doing things in pageantry for 2025. And because of that, on our end here in Sashes&Scripts, we are going to pivot that as well. Earlier in December, I was able to talk with Mark Sobrajahani, our colleague, and I'm very glad na he is on board on a number of ideas that we have for 2025, and he also pitched in several great ideas to do for 2025. So I think in terms of what to expect for Sashes&Scripts in 2025, definitely there will be more partnerships with a lot of people. I am going to work harder to team up with different people in the industry and bring you not only pageantry and fashion discussions that is thought-provoking, that is timely, and that is very very attuned to the changing times, but also we are going to put forth more content that is aligned towards our community. Kasi for 2025, my plan is to be more mindful, to be more, tawag ito, to be more open with suggestions from you guys, from our, from our audiences on what are the things that you want to hear us discuss in our live streams, and what are the kinds of content that you feel there is a need for us to discuss and dissect. Kasi 2025 is going to be a difficult year to manage in terms of content, because there will be a lot of overlapping content from different influencers, from different content creators, especially on the tawag ito, pageant na sector. So the way that we are going to move and evolve with the changing times is to actually listen to what are your thoughts, what are your ideas, in order to push and move forward yung ating community here in Sashes and Scripts, so that we are able to gather a very apt and very not just apt and appropriate, but rather very targeted and um, very proper na content for the community. Okay? I cannot divulge yung mga plans that we have, but definitely you will expect that we are going to be uh, more focused on building our community. We are going to be more focused on on conversations, and discussions on certain topics and issues that is going to be relevant to the times, and to the situations that we have, especially in the fashion and pageantry na sectors. And also we are going to be more we're going to be more involved when it comes to the things that we're going to be discussed in the future. Kasi we are gonna be expanding yung ating conversations, especially on the live streams, not only to discuss pageantry but also fashion and lifestyle as well. So 2025 is going to be a interesting year, definitely. And I think that for the upcoming 12 months, we are going to be moving forward and I think ultimately yung goal natin is to create content that we are going to be happy about. Kasi isa sa mga pinangako ko this year is that for 2025, ang gusto kong mangyari is that we only cover the topics that brings us joy and happiness. I don't want yung I don't want to focus on the negativity anymore as much as I can. I don't want to bring into 2025 the negative energies that happened in 2024. I think it's about time na iwanan na natin yung mga tao, yung mga influencers, yung mga topics, yung mga pageants na hindi naka-add sa overall na happiness natin for last year, and leave it there, and then focus entirely on what brings us happiness and joy for 2025. I think ultimately 2025 is going to be a pivot year for us as well, because we are going to be more involved, and more mindful of the content that we publish. And sa tingin ko, lahat tayo, we need to, we need to keep on maturing in the content that we have, and start being less emotionally involved, but more mindful of the content that we publish on our socials, and not only here on YouTube, but also in our Instagram and they call this, and Facebook as well. And also, before pala we wrap up and end our live stream this evening, thank you very much for a very wonderful 2024. Um, we hit major milestones in 2024, and I do hope that we do that as well in 2025. We targeted 50K in followers in our Facebook. We got 51.1 by end of the year. We hoped to have 19K we hope to have 20K in Instagram, and we hit 19.5 by January 1st. And then we hope to have 8,000 followers here in YouTube, and we hit that. So I am hoping that for 2025, we grow more and be more, what do you call this? We grow more, and we expand yung community natin here on our socials, not only on YouTube but also in Instagram and Facebook. So thank you very much for a very fruitful 2025, very bountiful 2024 rather. And I hope that kasama ko pa rin kayo in 2025 to experience more triumphs and more blessings together. Thank you very much for a very wonderful live stream. Thankfully hindi tayo umabot ng 2 oras ngayon. And I am very very much thankful for the people who watch our live stream. I know this is a little bit off the usual natin na schedule, but I will try to plan a better schedule in the upcoming weeks ahead. Okay, please watch out for a special live stream, probably either Monday or a Sunday later this incoming Sunday or Monday. But I will be posting if ever na magkakaroon tayo ng special na live stream later. Okay? So thank you very much, and have a great evening and a great weekend ahead. Para dun sa mga hindi nag-uumpisa pa ang trabaho, enjoy your vacation, and hope to see you again soon. Bye everyone, and thank you very much.